Good day, everyone. I'm Red Eyes, and welcome to another Backlog Versus. Now, today we're playing Mafia the Definitive Edition, and also, just because I don't really do the Backlog Versus series too often, just to give a quick rundown, it is very similar to my What's This Then series, which is a first impressions sort of critique, impressions, review, just giving my live, on-the-spot thoughts of a first impressions of the game. And Backlog Versus is the same as that, but it's more of a focus on older games. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean retro games, it just means games that, aren't coming out in a recent period. So, maybe a few months, or maybe half a year, older than that, maybe. So yeah, that's kind of just a quick rundown of Backlog Versus. But yeah, like I said, today we're looking at Mafia the Definitive Edition, which is... if you're like me, this one, the Mafia series has you've always kind of known about it, but it's been kind of over there, I always thought the Mafia series was a bit of a GTA wannabe, or not like wannabe, but, took big inspiration from GTA. Essentially it was GTA, but in a different time period, or a different theme, or a different setting, for example. Now that I've played it a bit, and I say a bit, I've got about 6 or so hours in it, so decently into it so far. It's definitely not a GTA wannabe. It's definitely its own thing, and I can definitely respect that a lot more now. But first, to go over a few things, bit of a story, crime, action. It is open world, but that's with like an asterisk on there. It was developed by Hangar 13, published by 2K. Hangar 13, they have made the Mafia trilogy, and they are also doing this Definitive Edition sort of re-release, because the Definitive Edition is a full remake, full new graphics, different cutscenes, all this sort of stuff, different, modern tech for the game and stuff like that, so pretty cool stuff. This one's out on PS4, Xbox One, Windows, and Xbox Cloud Gaming. So it came out in about 2020, 25th of September here, and it sells for about £35 or about $40 US, but because it's been out for a while and there is a big push at the minute, big marketing push for the new Mafia game that's coming out next year, The Old Country, you can regularly find this one on sale. I believe it's like £8 or something on Steam right now for the Definitive Edition, this one here. And yeah, what was I saying? So it kind of does its own thing with the kind of GTA formula. Like, it does have an open world, but you don't really... it's not an open world you're meant to do lots of little side activities and waste a bunch of time. It's an open world that is there to facilitate the story it's trying to tell, if that makes sense. And I really like that about it, because I really thought I was going into a GTA game, essentially, but like a Mafia-themed one. And then whenever I found out the game is actually mission-based, and the open world is there for you to move in between. Because you can just, at any time and during these missions, unless they're time sensitive, you can just drive off anywhere you want. But there's not going to be like a ton of side stuff to do or anything like that. You are on a mission when you're out there. With the exception of there is a free ride, which I have not touched yet. And that's actually what I'm going to be using to show you in the video today. Because this game is mission-based, pretty much anything I show you from the story is going to be a spoiler. So I want to avoid that. I'll give a quick sort of premise. In fact, I'll just read the one from the Steam page here. An inadvertent brush with the mob thrusts cab driver Tommy Angelo into the world of organized crime. Initially uneasy about falling in with the Ciliari family, the rewards become too big to ignore. And interestingly, the very, very first thing you see when you hit story is that Tommy is telling the story of his time in this family to someone. And that's sort of the lens that we view the story through, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty interesting way to do it, because the whole time I'm going through the story, I'm like, damn, how does he end up in this scenario? And the more those scenes where he's telling this person about his time there happen, the more stuff gets revealed, and it's like, oh, I'm really interested. But yeah, so let's take a quick look at the options, see what we got here, because we're talking about a remake here, so there's not going to be an absolute ton, but there's some nice stuff. So, controller presets, you've got a few things here. You can't, I don't believe you can fully rebind the buttons on a controller or anything like that, which is a little bit unfortunate. There is for keyboard, as you can see there. I very much believe that this is a good controller game. Any third-person game where aiming isn't a huge part of the game, I'm always going to be a controller kind of guy. But you've got some like aim assist, you've got some look conversion. I would recommend turning the aim assist either off or low, because it makes the fights actually quite intense. Because otherwise you have it on high and you're just going to, you know, you're going to be doing the GTA Red Dead Redemption thing where you peek out a cover, instantly on their head, bang, peek down, you know, rinse and repeat. And you got some sensitivity options. Game, you've got a decent bit of customizability here. You've got different difficulties. Classic, I believe, is just the way the game released back in the day. So I think the original was 2001, if I'm remembering correctly. And it didn't have difficulty sliders, I'm presuming, so it just had this classic difficulty. So that's what I've been playing on, and I've been having a really good time with it. There are some missions where it's a bit of a pain. I'm not gonna lie, there's some quality of life stuff in there that they did not add for the Definitive Edition, such as if you die in a mission, you will respawn with whatever health you had. Now, this could be at the very beginning of a long and difficult sequence that happened to me, because I've actually been streaming this game on my other YouTube channel, Red Eyes Number 2, and there was one part where it's sort of a chase sequence, and I had low health, and it was kind of difficult with the amount of health that the game kept respawning me with, but not too impossible. But I quite like the difficulty. It's even got stuff like if you reload with a magazine full of bullets, it dumps the mag instead of, you know, saving the bullets like most other games do, which is an interesting bit of realism I wasn't expecting from this game. You got your subtitles, you can change your transmission type, because driving is a big part of the game. On-foot camera, vehicle camera pitch, you can change all sorts of stuff, reset game language, player car location, all sorts of stuff, tutorials, skip the drive if you don't want to do any of the drives that aren't essential, like chase sequences and stuff. Or sorry, unlike chase sequences. Moments that are just driving somewhere to and from, and, you know, to and fro and all that sort of stuff, so you can turn that off if you really don't like that. But the driving is a lot of fun. I actually think they've done a decent effort of making the driving feel important, even when it is just, or at least engaging, even when you're just going from A to B. HUD visibility, you can kind of do minimal or full. You can't turn it off fully though. Objective indicators, all that sort of stuff. Turn-by-turn navigation, disable the launcher. That is actually a very interesting point, because this game is published by 2K, and for a long time they've had a 2K launcher that you've had to use, you know. It's a bit of a pain. However, they have recently removed the 2K launcher from all their games. Just blanket, all of them are gone, the launchers. And this is fantastic for for two reasons, mainly that I can think of. One, no one really likes having to go through a launcher to get into their game. It's just a pain in the ass, it's an extra step, why have it? And two, okay, apparently the 2K launcher really messed with performance in their games. I've heard that certain games are actually like really, really unplayable or noticeably worse when that 2K launcher was there. And I don't believe you could close the launcher either, because it ran in the background off of the game's exe. And if you closed the launcher in like Task Manager or something, then it just closed the game. So, bit of a shit one. Glad it's gone. Please never return. So display options, you've got a cool noir mode here, so you can turn it all black and white. I haven't played any missions with that, but that's a cool idea, I like that. Resolution, you've got your sorted affair of them here. Full screen, you've got full screen or windowed here. VSync, field of view. 65 I thought was going to be a bit low, but third person games, I tend to like them sort of more default. So I've left that there, but you can change it, which, you know, we love seeing an FOV setting in there. Especially for third-person games, because it's not something that gets terribly too much attention. Brightness and screen borders, all that sort of stuff. When it comes to graphics settings, you've got a decent variety here. All the sort of stuff I think you'd want to really see, like motion blur, you know, depth of field, you got a global setting, you can do your decals, vegetation, direct lighting, all this sort of business, anti-aliasing. I do wish I could turn that off completely, just because certain types of anti-aliasing look really blurry to me, even on low, so I would like to be able to turn that off. This is kind of like my pet peeve in games, is how they handle anti-aliasing. But for the most part, Yeah, pretty good. And the game runs pretty damn well for me as well. However, I am running on a 4090 and 1700X3D, so your mileage may vary. I have heard that some people are struggling with this game because at first I thought there was some kind of ray tracing in this game. I don't believe there is, although it seems to be a bit of a conflicting story. There are certain reflections in this that really look ray traced, and there's certain quirks in the graphics that I've noticed that I would normally associate with ray tracing. But I see a lot of people saying this game doesn't have ray tracing, so I'm not 100% sure what that is. But I would say the reflections are probably a big reason as to why some people struggle. It might be like software ray tracing, I'm not sure. Lumen or whatever it's called. Not too sure. Audio settings, you've got decent variety, music, dialogue, you know, sound effects, cinematics, volume, always good to have all those. Dynamic range, set that low or high. So, now that we've gone through that, I'm going to take us into Freeride, which I've never actually done before. I've been playing through the main story and I haven't looked at Freeride. So, enter Lost Haven, Heaven at your leisure in its entirety, drive any vehicle, fire any weapon, explore as you choose. Cool. So, I'm going to choose this to show you how the game plays and just how it operates, sort of how things generally go. Because, like I said, if I were to load into any of the main stories, that would be big spoilers. Freeride allows you to explore Lost Heaven at your own pace. Your wardrobe, garage, and Tinder's armor are available at Silly Ari's bar. Search the state of collectibles and hidden secrets. Yeah, so you can use this, because there's collectibles in this game. However, it's kind of nice. They appear on the minimap whenever you go anywhere near them. So, that's extremely handy. I love that. But let's just grab a car here. So you can go to this garage really at any time. And any car that you have driven at all will be in here, which is very nice. You don't have to like bring it back, and it'll be here forever. It's not like you have one of, you know, however many. But the car designs are really cool. I really like them. You'll notice this one here. Because this is the definitive edition, which came out after Mafia 3, and they decided to put this in here, which is a Mafia 3 car. Which looks very out of place in this game and drives like an absolute monster compared to anything else. You know, let's take out this bad boy. Looks nice, but you can change colors and all that sort of stuff. Change exterior colors, you know. I like the white rim on the wheels there. It's very nice. Yeah, and this is it. You sort of out here. This part will feel very GTA, and I'm sorry to kind of keep comparing it, but it's an easy way to sort of get a point across of how certain things work. Now, one very interesting thing is that this game, as you might notice on the radar down the bottom right, has police driving around. That's not the interesting part, but you'll see a police officer over there and see cars driving around. If you go over the speed limit, you will gain a wanted level if they see you, or a police level. And the speed limit is 40 mph. Now, at any time, you can hit the select button on a controller. I'm not sure what this is on PC, but you can set a limiter, and actually it will cap you to that speed. So if you don't want to have to worry about it, you can just set that and forget it. However, you will notice that you are driving quite slow. And this is where one of the little genius things I think about this game come into play. So when you're driving from A to B, it could probably be quite boring over time if you're just driving the same streets back and forward all the time, same type of cars, you know, very, very samey sort of stuff. But this the speed limit system is quite interesting because it means you're constantly actually engaged by the driving, because you constantly have to watch your speed. And that's something I never thought I'd say in a game like this. Now, you don't have to worry about any other, like, sort of, you know, road rules. Like, you can drive on the wrong side of the road, you can take people over, you can, you know, do all sorts of stuff as long as you don't, like, crash in directly into a police car or anything. But, yeah, it means that when you're going to and from places or just doing some long drives on missions, it can actually be quite engaging. And if you don't want to deal with that, you know, that's what the limiter's for, and you can just turn your brain off and just cruise away. Listen to the radio, do whatever. Yeah, I really quite like this. Another thing that I really quite like, and I don't know if it'll actually show it to me because this is a custom waypoint. Oh, it does, lovely. So you'll see this sign that appears. I love in-world indicators of what direction I have to go. So when you're given a mission and you're told where to go, normally I'd be staring at the radar half the time and making sure I'm going the right way. But what this game does, and I believe this was in Mafia 3, and they brought it back for the definitive edition, which is I am a huge fan of, is it puts these like almost like ghost signs that give you a little direction about what corner to take. And I love that. I think that is a really fantastic touch. And it keeps you in the world, you know? It keeps me from... I don't need to look at the radar, because I know that whenever I'm coming up to a turn or whatever, the game will just let me know, like, hey, you got to turn this way, hey, no need to turn here, just keep going straight. Beautiful stuff. The last game I remember having something quite like this was Burnout Paradise. If you had somewhere to go there, whenever you would come up to a turn, your car would actually use the indicator, and it would show the street name on the indicator, or like above the indicator, like where you had to go. And I thought that was really cool, because you didn't have to worry about, again, staring at the radar. So I'm a huge fan of that. Love that completely. But yeah, that's sort of like the driving aspect of it. I would say that the game does a really good job as well, actually, of making these cars feel like... Well, I have the simulation driving on, so maybe that's why it feels so good, or feels this specific way, but it really feels like I'm driving cars from this sort of time period, you know? They're sluggish, they're heavy, they're not, like, super fast or anything. I feel like I am driving what I'm looking at, you know? But there's still a really good sense of speed, even though, like, you know, car chases might only at most reach like 50, 60 mile an hour. Unless you're in that one Mafia 3 car, in which case no police car will ever catch you. Which is quite funny. But I'm a big fan. There's also the radio, you can turn that off or switch between them. There's not like a ton of stations or anything, but there's just some basic music that's, you know, period appropriate and pretty fun to listen to while you're going to and from. Sometimes you'll hear little radio reports that may or may not be relevant to the current story ongoings. But yeah, it's a fun city to drive around, fun cars to drive. It's really pretty, you know, it's nice to look at. Some really nice stuff, especially when the weather effects really get going. See, when it gets like raining and the reflections are looking good and you're driving with the headlights on and the music's going. It does that really well. I'm a big fan, big fan. So I suppose now what I'd like to show you is how the combat works. Now, do I have any weapons on me by default? No. Alright, I'll show you what punching looks like. So basic brawler sort of combat system. You go up and you hit B, just start punching. And they might sort of start fighting you. He's not going to punch back because he has a gun. But basically you just keep punching until they eventually fall over. Oh, give me your gun. Until they fall over, or you get an option to do a finisher, in which case you'll get like a little dramatic thing. Do a little bit of shooting here. That's a handy business that he had his gun on him. Now the combat is tough, especially on the classic difficulty. Like a few shots and like your health bar's gone, and you don't regenerate health in this game. It is you need a health box that's on like a wall or something. And it is with the low sensitivity or the low aim assist and stuff. Like it can be, fights can be brutal. Fights can be over very quickly if you find yourself out of position or not paying attention. So I would expect if you're playing on classic difficulty with the low aim assist, expect to be dying quite a bit. Now, the save system is probably one of those things that's like a bit noticeably dated. Like they probably could have added a few more checkpoints, which would have been nice. But I've only had it really in 2 missions where I felt like, could have done with a better checkpoint there, you know? Nothing too crazy. I was like fighting through a building and I made it to, you know, a few floors up and then I died and I had to fight from the bottom floor again. Or there was a car chase I was doing, you know, and I got a decent ways into it and I died and had to start it from the beginning. But you get right back into the action like real fast, so I don't think it's like too big of a deal. But if that's something that annoys you, like a sort of moderately grading save system, then that's something to be aware of in this. So I suppose I'll speak a little bit on the story missions. I'll obviously not go into too much detail about like what they, narratively, what they mean or what happens, that sort of thing. But it's a good variety. It's a very good variety. I have really enjoyed going through the story missions because there's always some interesting story beat going on. There's some interesting characterization going on. Some revelations going on, or just the variety of what you're doing is good, you know, and they all do a good job at making you feel like you're really, you know, really part of this like mafia family. Like you might just be driving around like collecting you know, debt payments. You might be driving around doing some pickups, you know, like dead drops of money and stuff like that, and then suddenly things turn into a shooter, you know, who knows? And then you might be trying to get some politician indebted into you or scared so that they, you know, get away from your family and stuff like that, you know? So the missions are good. I'm interested to see where things go. From what I understand, I'm just over halfway, so I should be seeing that relatively soon. And I do plan on, unless the ending of this game really shits the bed, I do plan on playing the other two as well, so I'd expect videos on those ones to come soon as well. But yeah, I've been having a good time with this one. It took me by surprise, because like I said, I went into this expecting GTA, but Mafia. And while there are elements of it that you can certainly look at and be like, yeah, you know, it definitely was inspired by that. Or at least there's that sort of DNA in there. It's hard to say this isn't its own thing. You know, it really is. Especially the characters. I really enjoy the characters. Having a lot of fun with them. The writing's good. I'm interested to see where stuff goes, you know, so. And then all the little things in between. Like, just driving from place to place feels really good. The cars feel great. The gunplay is like, yeah, it's fine. You know, it does the job. It's nothing too crazy. Variety of weapons is okay, you know. Nothing really to write home about there. It's all very period appropriate and, you know, pretty functional cover system with aiming and shooting, and you heal by finding like medical crates, and you get ammo from like sort of preset locations or pick them up off enemies, that kind of thing. There's some basic stealth in the game where you just sort of creep around, you know, do a little stealth knockout of someone, maybe pick up their body and hide it, you know. Pretty simple in terms of the gameplay stuff. But it's the bit that surrounds it, you know, all this, what I'm driving through right now. This is the bit that makes it like what it is. And I'm having a good time with that. But yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to talk about with this one. It's a good game. I'm having a good time. If this one's been sitting in your backlog for a while, or if the Mafia series is always one that you've sort of thought, like, hey, I'd like to check that out, then I'd say it's worth it. Very worth it. Especially now, like I said, it's on sale pretty regularly with the Old Country coming out next year, so I think it's a great time to be getting into the Mafia series and giving it a go. But yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, and catch you guys on the next one, as well as my second YouTube channel, where I'll be streaming the rest of my Mafia playthrough and stuff, so that'll be in the description and stuff below if you're interested in that. Otherwise, see you in the next one. Bye-bye.